Hey y'all, welcome to Paige's Perspective, where I help you find your inner strength to cope with life. Trust has been the theme this week, so today I want to discuss how this life changes you. Like being in a relationship with someone who has lied to you repeatedly will do something to a person. It's one of the main reasons we discuss behaviors over substances because it's the lying that does some of the most damage. When someone lies to us, especially from the person who is supposed to be our life partner, one of our most important relationships of our lives, it doesn't just damage the relationship. It reshapes our brain. It rewires our nervous system, and it disrupts how we experience trust in general, not just with your partner. When someone is lied to repeatedly, their brain shifts into a protective mode. And this leads to the chronic fight or flight activation, which makes the body feel unsafe, even in everyday situations. And then trust becomes a liability. So once someone has been lied to over and over again, their brain learns that trusting others equals pain. So they adapt by becoming emotionally guarded, suspicious, maybe distant, even with friends or new partners or family members, anybody. And then trust becomes not a virtue, but it's an actual threat. And many people who have had betrayal trauma will find that they are hypervigilant in their next relationships. Just adding here that I personally don't recommend dating until you have been out of a toxic relationship for a significant amount of time while you are healing, learning new coping skills, learning to trust your instincts again, and knowing what your personal values are. When we do this, we're going to learn who is safe to trust and who isn't. That's part of the wisdom phase. However, it is important to go through a cynical phase so you can heal what has hurt you. I'm still guarded. I don't trust everyone, but that's not a bad thing. It's to protect me. It's to protect my kids. And, it may take some time to trust someone I first meet, which again, that's not a bad thing. So yeah, this life changes you, but it does help us understand who we are more. And it helps us truly find out who can be trusted and who can't. So the naive stage is great at first, but over time, it can continually harm us. Being naive isn't stupid. It doesn't mean that you're weak. It's really just a lack of experience, especially when it comes to other people's intentions or the harsh realities of life. I can dig deeper into this phase at a later episode, but back to trust. When someone realizes they've been lied to for months or years, they often question their own reality. How did I not see it? Am I stupid? What's wrong with me? And this can cause long-term identity confusion. It can cause self-doubt. It can cause shame. And this is more than just feeling hurt. It's the undoing of how you've come to understand who you are, who they are, what your relationship was, and how you actually see the world. Your identity is shaped by your memories, your experiences, your relationships. When you realize that those experiences were based on lies, that foundation cracks. You start to doubt your judgment. You start asking, why didn't I see this? What else have I missed in life? You question your intuition. That gut feeling I ignored, was it right all along? Can I even trust myself anymore? You even reevaluate your values. You lose yourself. We talk about how we lose ourselves in these situations, and this is what I'm talking about. This is part of the reason why. This psychological unraveling can feel like an identity crisis. Then there can be an emotional fallout, shame. I feel like a fool. Everyone else must have seen it. Why didn't I? There's isolation. You may withdraw because you don't trust your version of events or fear judgment. This one hits hard for me. You don't trust your own version of events. That can be a mind fuck. And then there's internal conflict. There's often like a war inside. One part wants to believe you were doing your best with the info you had. Another part screams you should have known better. And this creates cognitive dissonance. You start overcorrecting, doubting not just the past, but the present. Even in new relationships or safe environments, you may second guess yourself. Am I missing something again? What about if you didn't know you were being lied to until they got sober, and then you found out that you were lied to for years? Maybe they were a closet addict, or just found out you've been lied to for years over something. Maybe they're not sober or anything, but you just found out like, oh my gosh, I've been lied to for years. Matt was a closet addict. I knew he did some things, there were some behaviors there, but he lied about a lot. And I didn't know he was an addict. That kind of betrayal hits harder than almost anything else because it doesn't just break trust, it shatters your entire history. You don't get to process the lie in real time. You have to reprocess everything retroactively. So let's break this down. There's cognitive shock. You thought you knew your life. Finding out years later that you were being lied to while someone was using or hiding things is like waking up in someone else's life. Your memories, the times you laughed, the times you made decisions, the times you stood by them, they all feel corrupted. Then there's memory scramble. The brain starts questioning everything. Was any of it real? Did they love me? Was I blind? And then there's a narrative collapse. We survive life by telling ourselves coherent stories. When you find out the story was false, your brain scrambles to rewrite the past, which is emotionally and psychologically exhausting. We're going to talk about betrayal trauma for just a second. It's not just the lie, it's the layers. You didn't just get lied to. You built a life on lies. Maybe you defended them to friends. Maybe you made sacrifices because you believed their version of events. I did this for so long. There's a violation of reality. When the truth comes out, your sense of what's real is destabilized. This can trigger panic, disassociation, or a full-on trauma response. You lose self-trust too. How did I not see it? Again, it becomes a loop that eats at your confidence and intuition. Even if you were manipulated, your brain may wrongly assume that you failed to protect yourself. There's delayed grief, delayed anger. This was my experience. Because the betrayal happened over years and you only just found out, the grief process begins late and it hits suddenly. You may feel a sudden urge of anger, disgust, confusion, even hatred toward the person you thought you forgave. You may grieve a version of your life, your marriage, or your partner that never actually existed. Been there, done that. There can also be deep resentment over not having had the chance to make informed choices back then. So when someone lies to you for years, whether it's about addiction, infidelity, financial secrets, maybe emotional truths, you aren't given the opportunity to process the reality of your situation as it's happening. Instead, you're forced to live inside a story that wasn't real. So when the truth finally comes out, whether in sobriety, maybe they make a confession, or even by accident, because there are times that we find things on accident that just showed us the truth that we had been lied to for years. And it doesn't just hurt in the present. It completely blows up your past. You don't just grieve what's happening now. You grieve the years you stood by someone who was hiding the truth, the version of your partner you thought existed, the moments you defended them, you doubted yourself or minimized your own needs, the future you were working toward that was built on a false foundation. Trust is the foundation of all relationships. And that grief doesn't come gradually. It slams into you all at once because it was delayed. So the delayed anger, when you finally see clearly, a new version of you emerges. One that's pretty furious on behalf of the past of you. So this anger is righteous. You were denied information you had the right to know. It was disorienting. You may have already forgiven them for things you didn't even know they did yet. It's volatile. Like, you may go from sadness to rage to guilt in the span of an hour. Your emotions are all over the place. And then you might think, I don't even know what I'm mad at. I don't know who I'm mad at. Them? Myself? The universe? It's another mind fuck. So why does it hurt so deeply? Because it's not just betrayal, it's robbery. You were robbed of agency. You couldn't make informed decisions about your life since they were lying to you so well and you didn't know. You were robbed of truth. You were denied access to reality. You were robbed of time, years that you can't get back, built on someone else's version of the truth. And this leads to resentment. I could have left. I would have done things differently. I didn't get a chance. or I didn't get a choice. Self-blame. How did I not know? Why didn't I trust my gut? And then there's emotional whiplash. You go between compassion for your partner and then disgust for what they did. And here's what makes it worse is that there are well-meaning people in the world that might say, but they're sober now. Can you just focus on the future? Or they told you the truth eventually. Doesn't that count for something? Or you have a chance to rebuild now. What they don't understand is that you are just now entering the pain that they've already moved through. Their relief is your breakdown. So what can help in this situation? Permission to feel it all. You don't owe anyone a quick return to peace. You need to grieve fully, rage if needed. Let the truth metabolize. Validate the unseen losses. You're grieving invisible things. Trust years' innocence. Give that space to be named. Don't rush forgiveness or repair. Forgiveness forced too early becomes another form of self-abandonment, and you didn't get to say back then, you do now. Own the anger. Don't fear it. It's not a sign that you're bitter. It's a sign of your self-protection system that it's finally online. It's finally there. Delayed grief doesn't mean you're overreacting. It means you're finally reacting with all the truth in hand. And while the truth is heavy, it's also sacred because it gives you the chance to finally make choices rooted in reality and not in illusion. So why does betrayal destroy self-trust? All right, when someone lies to you for a long time, especially someone you loved, someone you've defended, somebody that you've probably sacrificed for, it forces you to question your own perception of reality. And you start asking, how did I miss this? Why didn't I listen to my gut? Was I in denial? Did I enable this? Am I weak? This creates a dangerous narrative. I can't trust myself to see people clearly, to make good choices, or to protect myself. And once you stop trusting yourself, you second guess every feeling, you question all your decisions, you apologize for things that weren't your fault, you overcompensate, or you underreact. You look to others to tell you what's true. And what's happening in your brain is that your brain stores the betrayal as trauma. It remembers that you thought everything was okay when it wasn't. So now it treats your inner signals, your gut feelings, your instincts, and even your joy with suspicion. And this rewrites your nervous system to believe that I must not be a reliable source. I need outside validation to know what's real. But why does this block future trust? If you don't trust yourself, you won't trust new people, even healthy ones, because you don't trust your ability to judge if you're safe or not, or if they're safe or not. You'll stay in harmful relationships too long, or you'll leave good ones too soon. You'll either become overly suspicious or overly accommodating because you've lost your internal compass. Self-trust is the filter through which all other trust flows. Without it, you can't discern real safety from false comfort or genuine change from manipulation. So why is rebuilding self-trust? Why does that need to come first? Because you're the gatekeeper now. No one else gets to tell you what's real, what matters, or what to forgive. You rebuild self-trust by listening to your gut, even when it's inconvenient, by validating your own emotions without waiting for permission, by acting in alignment with your values, by noticing patterns and not promises, by letting time reveal truth instead of rushing towards certainty. So every time you trust yourself to set a boundary, speak the truth, or walk away from what doesn't feel right, you're reclaiming the version of you that was ignored, silenced, or gaslit. The betrayal wasn't just about what they did. It was about how long you had to pretend it wasn't happening. You trusted someone. You trusted someone else more than you trusted yourself. Now it's time to reverse that. But if you struggle with actually trusting yourself again, our program, Independently Strong, will help validate, educate, empower, and get you started on your own recovery journey. We help you find your values, understand who you are again, and build you up to make decisions, with clarity. Our weekly community calls on Wednesdays are a safe space to connect with others going through a similar journey. And we can help you trust yourself again. Go to tufo.com and enter code Wheelie75 for a 75% off discount. Just a few closing thoughts. I've said this before and I'm going to say it again. The lies, not the addiction, the lies are what harms us so much. And some will say that addiction fuels the lies. Okay, but not always true, because there are times when people are sober and they're still lying. But either way, it's impact versus intentions, and the impact is huge. And I apologize if there was screaming on the other end of this microphone, because it's summertime and I have a child in the other room that I think is playing a video game, and he can't do that silently. So this is real life. Anyway, guys, that's all I have for this week. Until next time, I'm Paige. Bye.